Hey guys, this is Hell Hades. This is my channel Addicted to Gaming, and we've got another Raid Shadow Legends video coming up. So I had some really good feedback actually from my Arena defensive comp video. If you haven't seen it, you should check it out. But basically, I showed you guys what this comp would do in offense to also sort of let you see how they would behave defensively. So it's a team based on high resistance, high defense. Pretty much I just wear down the opposition. And you can see here from a defensive point of view, I very rarely lose. I lose probably, I don't know, maybe I see one a week where I might have lost a fight. So today I had a few requests to see what my speed comp would look like. And again, because we've got this event running at the moment for Arena Assault, I thought, you know what, I'll just put a video out relatively quickly. We've got what, 5 days 9 hours at the point of recording this, so quite a bit of time to go and farm for some pretty, I'd say, pretty mediocre rewards, considering these type of events seem to be the only way to get these tomes. I do think the Mystic Hand's part of the fusion, but again, quite a common champ. Otherwise, fairly average rewards, I'd say. But still, it'd be good for everybody to see what the speed comp looks like. So I think before I go into that, I just want to talk through how I gear up my team. And there's four fundamentals to an arena offensive team. So if I show you how I would set up. So basically the four fundamentals are: in pole position, you want somebody with a speed aura. The best in the game is Arbiter, because she's got a really strong speed aura and she's got some really good turn meter boost. You then want somebody who can basically completely lock down the opponents with CC, and I'll go into that in a second for some good champs to do that. You would then want somebody who's going to go in and debuff your opponents, ideally bringing down their defense and weakening them. And then you want somebody who's going to come in and nuke your opponents. So Skullcrown's a really good choice for that. There's lots of good choices. So I'll show you some fights shortly, but I just want to walk through the CC element. And it's not something that everybody does, but actually I find you become fairly unkillable providing your speed lead is fast and you have the right CC in place. And for me, there's kind of two really good forms of CC, which if you can get the right champions to do this, it makes Arena much easier. So I'll show you some champs that I would use for that. So AoE stun is probably number one, best form of CC in the game, and some good examples of epics that do the AoE stun that you could put into that role. So we've got who we got for the night reference. Yeah, so new champ. I'm sure you've seen. I don't have him unfortunately, but I'm sure you've seen some videos of him already. So miscreated monster, good old Frankenstein's monster. He's got this ability here on his A2, which gives him a 50% chance to stun all enemies. It also places massive shields on your team. So as an arena champion, if he's the second quickest in your team, he's going to cause havoc for the enemy. Really good epic, really useful champion. Probably one of the strongest epics I'd say for arena in the game right now for this kind of CC role. The second one, which I don't really see in the arena much, but for somebody that perhaps is a low spender or free to play, if you get this chap, Husk, really useful champion actually. So not many people, I've not seen many people use him, but again, he's got this A2, 35% as standard, but actually you can book it up to 60%. So 60% to stun all champions, and actually does a reasonable amount of damage as well, but that's not what you're using him for. He's there to lock down your opponents. There's good legendaries obviously as well. So probably I'd say the best ones that do this for me, actually we've got one in here, yeah, Nephril. So here we go, great legendary, great for the arena, attacks all enemies. His base stun chance is 50%. Actually, if you book it, you get him up to 75, which is fantastic. Basically, 3 out of the 4 opponents you face are going to be stunned. Stun means you lose your turn completely. So even the skills won't cool down on stun. We've also got a Dwarf, who's pretty cool. So I'd say definitely built for arena. So her A3 has a 70% stun again, attacks all enemies. So this is a really good ability just to lock down your opponent. And lastly, I'm just going to show you one more for this category, who is in the High Elves. Relatively new champion. He's Royal Huntsman's brother, or I don't know, looks exactly the same, one of these reskins. Yeah, here we go. So attacks all enemies. As a base, it's got a 50% chance to stun everybody, but that can be increased to 75 if booked. Also, he's got the ability to decrease the turn meter, which is another really good ability in the arena. So this guy's actually a really strong arena champion for that CC role. So stun is my first. I would love to have somebody that had 100% stun, but I don't. So the second best ability, and the one that I tend to use, is freeze. So freeze is similar to stun in that your opponent will lose a turn completely, but actually the opponent takes only 75% of the damage you'd normally do. So you hit a bit less, but it's still a complete lockdown. So I'll start with the epic. It's actually the only epic that I could find, and I'll just show you quickly a site which I use to look for this type of ability find. So for me, it's called, what's it called? A Yumilove. And you can go into a Raid Shadow Legends area. And actually what you've got down the right hand side here is all of the debuffs in the game. So I've, let's just click here. So if I was to click, I want to know who can freeze. I click on freeze here and it tells me all of the legendaries, the epics, the rares, the commons, etc. And actually what I'd do if I don't know what the champ does in particular, so I might just look in and say, right, actually epics that can freeze, great, let's see what Jingle Hunter can actually do, and it just gives you a breakdown of each of their abilities. So, if I was looking for freeze on this guy, I'd say actually he attacks one enemy, chance to freeze. He doesn't really do what I want him to do. I'm looking for somebody that can AoE freeze. So yeah, so in terms of epics, there's actually only one, which is Luria. So Luria has got, and again, it's an AoE, 50% chance to freeze for one turn, and you can book that up to 75. So that's the strongest freeze I can find for an epic. So or anyone below legendary, but for arena that would be really strong. And then we've got a few legendaries. So I personally have got a couple of these. So Shiramani, actually a really good arena champ, really good faction wars champ as well. But she has got an A3 which has 80% unbooked, but up to 100% if you're able to book her. Also, you fill this champion's turn meter as well, which is really strong if it actually attacks an enemy. So that's good. The next one, and the one that I use, is in Odrin tribes. I've managed to pull this guy a while ago, and I've used him ever since in my arena team. Really great champion. So unbooked, 80% chance to place a freeze on all enemies, and he actually gains an extra turn as well. So what happens here is you freeze them all, and then you go in and you nuke one of them down. And again, booked, that goes up to 100%. So really strong champion for that. So that gives you an idea on that kind of second phase, the CC phase. But I'm just going to show you a few combos of this actually working. And actually, I'm just going to, before I do that, I'll just show you some gear. So Arbiter. So I build Arbiter to be as fast as she possibly can be. Literally every item that she is wearing is my best speed roll I've ever got on a speed item. So it's pretty much normally 2 or 3 rolls into speed. And max speed boots, and then my banner as well. I managed to get 2 rolls on a banner. So yes, it's not the absolute top end gear that it can be, but it's pretty far up there, I'd say. So I get a maximum speed now of 319. And again, masteries are geared towards helping me grow speed. So this ability here is the only one that actually affects those kind of base rates, and that would give me a bit more speed out of the gear that she's wearing. So Arbiter is purely about speed, I do use her in some other dungeons here and there, but I've basically built this setup is purely to make me go first. Really, with this sort of comp, if you don't go first, you quite often will lose. So that's why I've got that other defensive comp available. So then if I look at my CC champ, Gerger, so I want him to be next fastest, and when Arbiter applies her speed up, so fills 30% of a turn meter, actually I need his speed close enough to Arbiter's at that 30% or just kick straight in. So there's not a chance that somebody comes in between, cuts in, and makes me lose. So again, his gear is not based around trying to do the most damage, it's based around being quick enough to go second and then having enough accuracy to land freeze on the entire team. I then have a champion that will come in and decrease defense. So there's loads of champions that can do this in the game. I use Ghostborn because Ghostborn also increases my attack, and this is an AoE decrease defense. So again, in terms of speed, actually speeds don't need to be as fast anymore because I've frozen the entire enemy team. But for Ghostborn, I have a pretty quick, and then I then have someone come in to nuke, and my nuker, which is actually this Skull Crown, is incredibly slow. I don't need Skull Crown to be fast at all because the enemy won't have a turn before Skull Crown goes, as you'll see, and also because she's unkillable, she actually just needs to be a glass cannon. So I don't really care about any other stats apart from attack, crit rate, and crit damage. I was lucky to also get Baron, who I'll show you in this video as well, who is probably the most insane champion I've got for Arena, but you have to use him on manual, but I'll show you that soon. Just in terms of alternatives to Ghostborn, so obviously Ghostborn's legendary. What could we do for this attack down ability? So Gala is really good for the attack down ability. Madame Cerise is really good for the attack down ability. Tyrell. There's actually quite a lot. There's a lot of champions that you could use to go in and do a full attack down. Even Bellower, albeit his skill is the weaker version, can go in and do an attack, a defense down ability. So let's show you this in action. So pretty strong team. Great thing about this setup here is I can just pretty much click it on auto. I maybe lose 1 or 2 fights a week. You see everybody's frozen. Defense down has actually only gone on 1, who has a couple of resists. His ability does get resisted on weak affinities, which is disappointing sometimes. It's actually proven to be a tougher fight than normal, typically. But still, the amount of champs that have gone down already, the chance of me losing at this stage is pretty low. And there goes the last champ that might have given them a chance to survive. And there he goes, he's killed himself. So if I take on this team here, similar idea, very rare that the Arbiter will go second, just because of her speed, so it just enables me to get that massive advantage, frozen team against me, which means I can just go in and nuke them, and really difficult for someone to beat me, especially when I'm in control. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out Skull Crown and Ghostborn. I'm going to put in my Baron for the nuke, and I'm going to put in Zargala. So just to show you alternatives. Alternatives are the same theme really. So with Arbiter, I'll speed up first. I'll freeze the opponents. I'll take out the one that I think is probably going to be my biggest threat. And by biggest threat, I mean the one that I'm perhaps not going to kill in one go. I'm then going to do defense down on their team. Arbiter's going to go again, so I'm actually just going to try and apply a weaken here. Didn't apply it, that's fine. Now Baron goes in. With his A1, he actually just goes in. I think he's pretty much busted. His A1 attacks one enemy, the remaining damage will go as surplus damage to everybody else, I think his surplus damage just scales. And so you hit for 80, but then everyone else is getting hit for nearly 200k. I think he's busted. He's kind of fun. Yeah, so let's have a look here. So we've got someone high player power actually. Good clan. Let's see how this one goes. So same idea. Now if you don't have, I've got a lot of legendary champs in my lineup. If you don't have the Arbiter, you can replace Arbiter with people like Apothecary. You can replace Arbiter with Cahoon from Barbarian teams. And people like the defense down, there's lots of options on defense downs through epics. And even nukers actually, there's a lot of options that you can pull in. So you don't necessarily need to have this type of lineup to be doing this work. Here we go, Baron. So look, A1, just go in. Let's pick someone that I think is going to die. Bang. I hit him for, what was that? I'm going to have to go slower next time. Maybe 50k or something, and everyone else getting hit for well over 100k. It just seems insane. So let's do this one. So let's put in Skull Crown again. Put it on auto. So actually, the Zargala sometimes will do her A2 there to finish someone off and still place that defense down. So she's a pretty useful champ in the arena. Now this one, I've not gone into this one yet. So what I'll generally do is I'll look to see what the player power is like. If it looks high, like this one, this looks like a pretty solid team. What I do to try and keep my win rate, my medals coming in, is I switch then to this defensive team, which I showed you in my other video. And the defensive team really I've set up to counter someone like a Hegemon. So my defensive team's got high resistance. Hopefully you've seen the other video, you'll see what it's like. But you can see here, bang, that normally would have wiped me out. It hasn't done. Now I go in, I block their debuffs, reduce their turn meter, taunt everybody, set them on fire. Already they're looking a pretty sorry state of affairs. And then really what I'll do is I'll just go in and start to finish people off. So I'll throw shields up here, just means that I'm not going to be in danger at all. Morley actually gains more damage from people that are on fire, so I'll just try and take out Apothecary. And the only thing with this lineup is it can be relatively slow compared to the Nuke one, which is why I've got the Nuke one. If I just played like this, I wouldn't be able to get my medals anywhere near as quick as I'd want to in a day. And there's plenty to be doing on the game. I don't want to be sort of doing really long fights all the time. So if I throw out an auto, actually, we'll probably just start to clear them out pretty quick. Now that we've wiped out 2. But you'll see it just enables me to always have an option if the fight looks like it's going to be pretty tricky and I want to just keep those medals rolling in. And at this stage, there's nothing they can do. It's just a case of my guys having enough time to actually clear them out. This guy's obviously pretty tanky. And there was a danger, so if I'd gone with my speed nuke team, there's a danger I would have lost this fight. Hegemon might have actually countered my entire team and I wouldn't have been able to use any of my serious abilities. I would have just been using the A1s, and at which stage I think I probably would have lost. So it just shows you how I sort of flip in between teams. Here we get the reload, and actually there's just a lot of pretty weak teams it looks like. Let's try this one. Yeah. So back on Arbiter. And this is my general speed team back in again. So look, I hope that's been interesting. I hope you've been able to pick something up there. Please subscribe to my channel if you liked what you see, and yeah, drop me a comment down below. Also, actually, I'll just show you my roster. If there's anybody within my roster that you would like to see a full sort of tutorial video on, then please feel free to drop me a comment below and I'll see what I can do. I'm really keen to do some content that people are interested in seeing. Yeah, I'm Hell Hades. It's my channel Addicted to Gaming. Thanks for tuning in.